I'm going to be having a great talk with Michael McHale. He is from Northern Ireland. We're going to talk about that with his relationship with Adrian Spence. We all know in Santa Barbara in Greater Southern California, there's this thing about the Irish, particularly perhaps the Northern Irish. I don't know. Michael will clarify some of those. Conundrums that Yankees have no idea about. We are speaking about. Let me get through the publicity for you, Michael. Hang on for a second. We're talking about Camerata Pacifica. We're talking about performance coming up this coming Friday for us who are making this tape just now, and it'll actually show up, I should be saying tonight, which will be Friday, October 9th in Santa Barbara at Hahn Hall. And as most Southern Californians know, the Camerata Pacifica plays through a series throughout Southern California. The previous evening, they're going to be at the glorious Zipper Hall in downtown Los Angeles. So we should be so lucky to get them after they've had a chance to play a little bit and make sure the repertoire's okay. It's going to be a stunning program, but I want to speak just specifically to what Michael's going to be involved in. The Weber Trio, that's for flute, cello, piano. He'll have to deal with Adrian Spence. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. In G minor. Now, that's very interesting. And then also he's doing the Smetana, the trio in G minor. I don't know. Part of me as a conductor wants to think there's some kind of profound connection there. Michael will clear us up on those kind of specious ideas. And so let's get started, Michael. First of all, how on earth does a Belfaster? You're from that neck of the woods, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
I was born and bred.
Okay. How is it that in all that darkness, I studied in London for 3 years, it was bad enough down there. How is it in all of that darkness, all of that rain, all of that stuff, you emerged and decided classical music would be your career? What's that about?
Well, I think it's probably, and you look at some of the amazing musicians that have come from Ireland and Northern Ireland in particular, and maybe it's because of all that darkness, the miserable weather. It's just this is your ticket to see the world, So if that doesn't inspire you to start practicing, I don't think anything will.
By the way, you mentioned it exactly right. Everybody I know who is from that island gets away from it as much as possible, travels the world. They're very much travelers for that
But then
interesting.
we all miss it when we're away, So you
Oh,
can't.
sure. From the Pacific Northwest. I miss the green. So
Exactly.
there is that. Let's make sure we understand a couple things I may have forgotten to mention to Santa Barbara audiences. This little video interview is going to go out to all of Southern California, but particularly Santa Barbara. We're talking about Friday, October 9th in Santa Barbara at the Hahn Hall, beautiful chamber music hall, Music Academy of the West. There's a 1 p.m. performance. Are you involved in that afternoon show?
That's right, yes.
You
I
are.
think you do the Smetana trio just.
Uh-huh. Okay. So there's a 1 p.m. performance that's a little cheaper and a little shorter and very, very nice for people that would like to just have a taste of Camerata Pacifica. And then the full-on concert at 7:30 in the evening at Hahn Hall there. And in this case, Michael's going to be playing, as I may have mentioned, the Weber Trio, flute, cello, piano, Smetana the trio in G minor, both of them in G minor. And let me just give the phone number because, this is an opportunity for people to get away from Los Angeles. It's glorious. I've been waiting all my life for subways. All of a sudden, LA finally has subway systems. I want them to be much bigger, all that good stuff. But the point is, Santa Barbara is very calm, very beautiful. It's a nice thing to get away from Los Angeles. Telephone number for tickets in Santa Barbara, area code 805 884 8401. Now let's get on with it. You have produced two marvelous CDs. I've only heard little bits and pieces, but I'm already very, very interested. CDs of Irish piano music. Give me a little overview of that.
Well, yeah, I mean it's the first album, The Irish Piano, which came out in 2012. I guess that pulled together a few different strands. I've always loved playing John Field's nocturnes from
Mm.
a young age, so that was really the starting point. A couple of those, plus Samuel Barber's nocturne, which he wrote as an homage to John Field.
Hmm.
And of course, then coming from Ireland, I've had the opportunity to work with lots of wonderful Irish contemporary composers, including Ian Wilson, who's having a piece in our program actually in
Yes.
with Camerata Pacifica this week. And he's written a couple of different pieces for me, including a solo piano piece for that album. and Philip Hammond, another Belfast composer, and also a few composers from the south, Donnacha Dennehy and Bill Whelan of Riverdance fame. He wrote a wonderful piece for solo piano a few years back, so I put that on the album too. And then I also, the kind of third strand, if you like, is my own love of Irish traditional melodies. So I've arranged for of these, probably the most famous ones, She Moved Through the Fair, The Coolin, My Lagan Love. And I've arranged them for solo piano myself, which is something that I've often done, particularly on tour, actually as an encore at the end of a recital, just to give a
Mm-hmm.
little taste of my
Mm-hmm.
homeland. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought I'd throw those in there as well. So I was really happy with how it all balanced out.
Yeah, and it's very important for all of us. I'm an American, you're Irish. The idea that we leave a little something behind of ourselves when we give performances, that we make sure people understand I'm an American, you're from Northern Ireland. This idea of culture, the beautiful, beautiful mix of cultures in this in the world that we're involved in. What's it like? I understand you've had a reasonably special relationship with James Galway, flutist. Made a couple of recordings, performed a little bit for him as accompanist. Give me a little story about that.
Yeah, it was actually a mutual friend from Belfast who introduced us to each other, and the first gig we did together was for BBC Radio in
Mm-hmm.
London, and his car at his hotel didn't turn up, so we ended up arriving 5 minutes before the red light went on, and he was
Mm.
bringing the music with me, so I was sight reading on stage. Um, so it was just one of these hilarious scenarios, and we got on like a house on fire. It went brilliantly. Ended up a listener from BBC Radio, phoned up and requested that I play, because it was a Christmas broadcast, that I play Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which I did. Then he started joining in, and he changed it into Rudolph the Red-Nosed
Mm.
Reindeer. Then I started playing that, and it was he's just a laugh a minute. He's a very special musician, of course, as everybody knows, but also a very special person. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so we've kind of toured a bit together and done the odd project here and there, and it's just always a blast.
By the way, only the Irish could say we had a great time. We had 3 minutes before the red light went on. It was chaos. It was hopeless. The Germans would be in complete collapse. The Americans would be pulling their hairs out. I mean, the French would probably be more philosophical, but the Irish would just say, "Ah, what a hoot! Let's do it." That's what I'm
Exactly.
thinking anyway. You know, you appear to have a little bit of interest in jazz and improvisation. Where did that come from?
Yeah, that came from when I was kind of 14, 15,
Mm,
growing up in Belfast. A good friend of mine was a trombone player, and his dad played bass and guitar in various little blues and jazz bands. And just for a little bit of extra pocket money, we used to go along and play, at weddings and all kinds of events down at the local rugby club, and it was just a bit of fun. And I'm really grateful for that experience, because I think a lot of classical musicians improvisation is so foreign to them that unless they see every note written down, they don't know what to
yeah,
do. And,
exactly.
most of these composers, Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, of course, all these guys were incredible improvisers. Liszt,
Hmm.
Chopin, the list goes on, so to speak. And yeah, it's just something that I find unlocks uh, some other things. So when you're approaching classical music, you're not viewing it always as you're remembering that these guys created it spontaneously to a certain extent at
Yeah.
times, and that element of music then is important in performance to kind of recreate that spontaneity. And having done a bit of improvising, I think helped me personally. Everybody's different, but it kind of helped me in my classical performing, which is of course my
Mhm.
thing.
Thank you. It makes me feel like a complete fool. I'm impossible at improvisation. I blame it on the clarinet, the most useless instrument. Oops, excuse me. That's why I became a conductor. It was much easier. Flap your hands. It's so. What's going on in terms of your future schedule? I mean, you're with Camerata. This is your second year with them, yeah?
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what did you do last year? Because I don't believe I've heard you play yet.
Yes, I did the Schubert Opus 90 for impromptus. Um, uh,
Something that easy.
Yeah, well, they're just some of my absolute favorite music. I
Yeah.
just adore all four of them, and as a
Yeah.
set, they work brilliantly together.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful to be able to start the concert with that. Then I did the C minor violin sonata by Grieg,
Mm.
the
Beautiful.
wonderful
Beautiful.
young violinist Paul Huang, who's just absolutely stunning.
You know
Really.
what? I must have heard that concert. I must have seen that one. Forgive me. What's it like? Okay, here's the one that we've been setting up prior to our interview. But how do two Irishmen get along together? You and Spence. I mean, is it okay? Is it always pranks? Is there always a whoopee cushion under a chair? What do you look out for between the two of you?
There's definitely a shared sense of humor, and there's definitely an element of joking around and having a bit of
Yeah,
fun. And actually, we spent a little bit of the start of our Weber rehearsal this morning
yeah.
with the wonderful Annie on cello. We were trying to teach her how to say eight, the number eight, and she's getting better at it. But actually, I was almost laughing with that when you read out the phone number because the number eight comes about 6 times. I was just thinking about us joking around about maybe we'll get Annie on to do a special YouTube with the phone number in her best Belfast accent.
Thank you. I'll make a note for future reference. Let me run by again. It's been a great pleasure. You are in Santa Barbara. You've been here for a couple 3 days, I think. Yeah, something like that. Pictures are up at Facebook. If those of you who want to have a look at Camerata Pacific on Facebook, rehearsal pictures, wonderful stuff. Pianist Michael McHale, brilliant young pianist. Adrian Spence never fails to bring us the best, and I don't mean just to Santa Barbara. I mean to North America. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
And we're talking about already Camerata Pacific, who by the time this airs will be playing throughout Southern California. But Thursday, October 8th, they'll have their performance in Los Angeles at the beautiful, fabulous acoustic of Zipper Hall in downtown Los Angeles. And then we get lucky in Santa Barbara because this is the home base of Camerata Pacifica on Friday, October 9th. There's a little afternoon performance that's a shorter program at 1 o'clock, and then at 7:30 at Hahn Hall, Music Academy of the West Campus. The full program, it's going to be a marvelous chamber music program, including, in this case, in terms of Michael's commitment, a Weber trio and Schmetana trio. So it's going to be fabulous. And let me just give the phone number once more, and then I'm going to let Michael go. Thank you very much for coming at me late in the day on a Sunday already. We're both going to go. We're sinning, apparently. Anyway, the box office number for Camerata Pacifica throughout Southern California, all of you that are watching, we're talking about area code 805. That's a Santa Barbara area code. 884-8410. Camerata Pacifica, Friday, October 9th. Hahn Hall, Music Academy of the West. How can anybody forego the opportunity to see two Irishmen on the same stage? I mean, it's going to be lots and lots of fun, and also world-class music making. Let's not forget. Michael, many, many thanks. Appreciate your giving me some time.
Thanks. Great to chat, Dan.
Righto. Bye-bye.